What is up, bros, bears, muscle mommies, and everything in between? As always, this is Patrick, Full Primal Power, your mom's favorite powerlifter. Today, we have a very special guest, the one and only Shane Haller. He squats 925 in sleeves, benches 556, and deadlifts 865 with the number one all-time world record sleeved squat at 308. Totaling 2347. I want to popularize it a little bit more, get more people into it, get more money into it, kind of like youth softball and then youth powerlifting just be kind of like synonymous with each other. And it's where is that youth kind of sport side of powerlifting going to come into? Like, where's that barrier to entry going to be?
So if they are too young, they cannot lift because it affects the development of their bone growth, and that's part of why they're
I've heard that too. I wonder what the
younger powerlifters.
Question with that being, like basketball players, right?
Yeah.
When they're young, if they start young enough, they're training the type of stimulus they're putting on their body under, like, activity or whatever. It affects how their body grows to be better at their sport.
Yeah.
Like you get guys like I didn't know it was really a thing until I watched like that documentary, The Last Dance, where they talk about Scottie Pippen, and he was like, I don't know, like 5'10", and then like he did a bunch of basketball training when he was young or growing up. He grew like 6 inches one summer. Have you ever grown 6 inches? I've never grown 6 inches. Wink, wink. That's crazy. And then he did it another summer. He grew like another 3 or 4 inches. And so it's like, is being 6'11" really that good for your body? Probably not. But like they're getting paid to perform at a high level, so like it's acceptable. Powerlifting, we're not getting paid for it. But say like you're 10 or 8 or whatever, and you start squatting pretty consistently, you start benching pretty consistently, deadlift, I feel like your body would almost kind of like start to take on those characteristics that are going to be most advantageous for the sports-specific movement that you're doing, Now, if we were getting paid tons of money, maybe that would be acceptable, but like, I think it kind of gets like the boo award because it's like, you don't want to have a stumpy, thumb looking guy that's just really good at squat and bench.
I feel targeted.
Hey man, like I said, 1,600 plus subtotal.
I watched or listened to a podcast. Dave Tate was talking about how to introduce young people to lifting. And he was like, just don't do any weight, just have them perfect the form. And like you'll see when they introduced the IPF points, it was a 9-year-old who was number one in the world, which made them kind of just throw away the IPF point system. But you'll see like a 4-foot boy at like 6 years old deadlifting sumo, and you're like, well, how does that translate when they finished growing up? Their leverages are going to change. So Dave Tate was given the perspective of just have them practice the movements, basically just do missionary position of training, just do like broomstick squats and broomstick deadlifts and just broomstick bench.
That's the most basic you can do,
Yeah, which, I mean, at 6 years old, they're going to get bored in 10 minutes and not want to lift ever again. But like the new,
that's like that would be the hard part, is like you get them started early enough. Like I think we all have like that friend that like their dad made them play t-ball and league baseball and whatever the next step of baseball is, and for like 10 years, and then they hated baseball.
Oh yeah,
never wanted to play again. Yeah. It's like a very fine line, and then your dad just makes you keep playing baseball and you hate it forever. But like it's like a fine line of like what would like how to like introduce that into, for somebody. Yeah,
but like the next wave, the whole young generation of lifters would end up being form monsters. They would have the perfect form, like Yuri Belkins, basically.
And arguably that would be a better result because you can develop the tissue later, but like if you are big and then you try and learn technique, like it kind of maybe goes against your leverages. Maybe it's something that like you're like, well, what I'm doing right now is working. Like, like I'm not gonna knock the guy because he's the by far number one best bencher in the world, but I think the biggest knock on like Julius Maddox would be like from somebody like you hear like a Scott Mendelson or any other like super form type big known bencher. They'll knock his bench technique. He has no bench technique. He just fucking heaves the weight. Well, I mean, he kind of does it anyway. He's 100 pounds clear of the next closest person. And so it's like maybe if he would have learned better technique first and then had that size, maybe he'd be closer to like 850, 900. I mean, as gross as that is to think about, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? I have Nick, the guy that owns our gym that we did the podcast with, he has clients and like, he'll have them start out and they max out and they can barely get 315, And then within a month and a half, literally just drilling the technique, no fancy, tempo, half quarter this, accommodating resistance that. Like, he just has them drill the technique. Within like a month and a half, they're doing their really shitty 1-rep max for like a triple. And obviously newbie gains, but like, I think it stands to show that, like, technique is kind of king. If you can really optimize what you're doing, you could probably push out maybe another 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds out of what you're doing just by putting yourself in a better position.
My training is based on muscle memory. So we've got like air squats. You have to do at least 100 air squats when you're first getting into the team every single squat day to build up that positive muscle memory. And then you see like tempo squats pop up in other programs. You're like, this is just teaching them to be slow in the certain spots that they're doing the tempo. So there's never going to be a right answer to what's the perfect training, because everything works. It's just mostly just consistency.
Buying in, and you got to find what works for you. Like, I'm not a very big proponent of good mornings. Like, I try and get into good mornings, and it fucks my back up. I'll try and get certain things, like you can try them certain times, and like other people get good benefit out of it, but like I try it and I break. So it's like, obviously I've gotten to a certain point not doing it, and that's like, I think that's kind of the hard part, is like when you and I are at a pretty advanced level, it's like, well, do I keep hammering what I've been doing and steadily progress? Is there something new I can add in that'll maybe give me a big benefit, or is this going to hurt me more, so it's going to level me down a little bit? So it's like, I think that's kind of the it's like Pokemon, boys. You got to try and build a perfect team. Like, everything that's like, you may want this guy in your team, but he might be hurting your whole team and like kind of setting you up for failure. So it's like, you got to make sure that everything is like strategically kind of placed in there, and where you need it to be to sit there and be optimal. Otherwise, you're just not going to be firing on all cylinders. Not going to be competitive with the super freaks of the world.